Imagine sitting having a meal in a restaurant and shortly thereafter finding yourself on a psychedelic journey into your own personal hell. In July of 2016, Allison, a 36-year-old woman from Oregon, was living in Central Asia working for the U.S. State Department in a rewarding embassy career. She enjoyed the challenging, fast-paced work with foreign dignitaries and becoming fluent in local culture and language. Unfortunately, all of that was about to change. One afternoon, following a light supper with friends, she experienced a dramatic and upsetting feeling in her abdomen. Urgently, she ran to the toilet and had severe cramps followed by watery, loose stool.
Diarrhea?
At first, she thought she'd eaten something off and that it would pass. After all, she was in a foreign country and constantly trying new dishes and food carts. She went home, took some Imodium, and went to bed early, thinking the next day she'd rise and all would be well. Sadly, this was not to be. Her abdomen had bloated up to the size of a basketball, and in the mirror she looked 8 months pregnant. She was severely nauseous and within moments of getting out of bed, had to once again urgently run to the toilet. She quickly sought attention from the embassy medical staff who ran a suite of tests. Stool analysis came back negative for parasites or bacterial infection, but she was given broad-spectrum antibiotics anyway. These made her worse, increasing her episodes of diarrhea to 5 or more times per day, and she started to experience night sweats, chills, and random episodes of vomiting on top of it. As her guts deteriorated from both the drugs and whatever had started this dumpster fire of a late-night Taco Bell run, her gut-brain axis started to disintegrate, and she began to have severe episodes of panic and mania, followed by rebound depression. She was embarrassed of her condition, and because she was wearing light-colored clothing in the hot climate, became rightfully fearful of the social impact of having an accident in public. She began to isolate and eat only simple carbs for quick energy, rapidly creating a downward spiral of both her gut symptoms and her mental condition. She was afraid that just as she was unable to hold on to anything she ate, she was losing her grip on reality. Venting about this to her sister led to a phone call with a psychologist back home, who told her that anxiety while overseas was normal, she probably just needed to eat more fiber, and she should ask the local medical staff for an antidepressant. The next week, her hair started to fall out in clumps. Unable to continue her work abroad, she put her career on hiatus for medical leave and moved back in with her parents in the U.S. She saw an infectious disease specialist who ran more tests without being able to find anything wrong. Suspecting an undiagnosed parasite, he gave her, again, multiple additional rounds of antihelminthics and antibiotics, but nothing changed. While her family had been initially welcoming and soothing, she quickly realized that living at home was a burden on her aging parents, and her sister, who had initially been her main line of support, was now deep in her own hole of postpartum depression and was no longer able to make space for her to vent about her continued personal medical trauma. A year of this passed, and in 2018 she had to be hospitalized due to an increase in her symptoms and the associated dehydration, anemia, and weight loss. She had every scope and scan known to medicine performed on her, but was still unable to be diagnosed with anything other than IBS, and was offered only nortriptyline for symptom management, which did allow her to work part-time from home as a low-level administrative assistant. But the long-term prospects of living with this condition were not helping her mental health status. The initial mania had passed, but she continued to have recurring dreams of parts of her body rotting away, and she still needed to use the toilet 5 or more times on most days. Nothing seemed to be helping, but she did notice that eating raw vegetables always made her significantly worse. She continued to eat mostly refined starch products. On the advice of a friend who had been treated for IBS at my office, she made an appointment for an evaluation. While parasite tests are notoriously unreliable, I did find it interesting that the medication she was prescribed to treat the assumption of one had the opposite of its intended effect. What do you think were the causes of this patient's illness? And what do you think we had to do to get her life back? Let me know in the comments, and I'll tell you the answers in part 2.